Hey, you guys, this is your coach, Andrea Dickerson, here with EyeOnTheDaycare.com, and welcome to the Jumpstart Blueprint program. We are on Module 7, where it's all about program policies and procedures. And for the very first time, I'm literally releasing my content and information that I use in my very own business. But I'm releasing it for you to be able to edit and create your own so that this could be an easy going process for you, so that you are clear about what is included in your handbook. You can take, edit, pull away. You can take and change the words and everything. But I felt like this would be my gift to you guys so that you could get my policies and procedures, add to it, take away, whatever you need to do. But you will have what it takes to be able to build your policies and procedures. So here I am showing you where you can take and change out the logo there, add yours. You can change out the name, if you please. As you can tell. And then you can title it. The first section is the welcome. You always want to give a person a warm welcome just so that they feel a part of your program. They understand who you are. They understand that they're important. And so you give them a welcome. The next section is the purpose of the handbook. Give them the clarity and understanding of why they have this handbook. What's the purpose of it? For your personnel policy handbook, it is to acquaint them with your rules, your regulations, your policies, your guidelines, and your procedures. So you're going to see how your handbook is not complete unless it has procedures included, so that they can see clearly what's expected of them and how to get things done. So this training is going to be really good. We have our history on how we began, and we have our vision statement. Our vision statement is what we ask our staff to memorize within the first 90 days. Our academic focus, we concentrate on the techniques that enhance a child's academic growth. We believe learning by doing, therefore we emphasize content mastery with alphabets, numbers, and phonics. And of course, you guys can follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and whenever I post about my curriculum, you can hear my same brand words where we focus in on content mastery. We also have an open door policy, which is essential to maintaining a strong communication and positive environment between our employees, each other, our immediate supervisors, and our upper management. Parents, children, all concerns that an employee may have, we ask that they bring their ideas, questions, suggestions, problems, and concerns to my office. So I have an open door policy, but I do know how to measure my time. So sometimes I can't accept when they just walk in the door whenever. I can always have them to make an appointment with me to come and see me. Same thing you should do as well. So that's why we urge them to contact their immediate supervisor. But some people don't have a good relationship with their immediate supervisor. So that's when, if there are conflicts that arise, this is when you want to have that open door policy. And you can even set your office hours for your open door policy. The next one is growing into your purpose. Now, this for me isn't necessary for all handbooks, but I want for everyone to understand that they are to grow into their role. You know, a lot of times I feel that staff have a lot of pressure on them when they figure they should come in knowing everything. Well, I let them know that it's constantly changing in our program. We are going to reserve the right to make any changes to procedures, rules, or anything that's covered in the handbook. They'll be notified by changes through bulletin boards or other appropriate means like meetings. We also let them know that the changes will be effective on the dates determined by the company. They should not rely on policies that have been superseded. So, for instance, because we're growing in the purpose, there are going to be a lot of things about our program that has to change. You know, we're growing each year. There's a new program out. There's a new expectation out by the state. So we reserve the right to let them know that we are growing into purpose and that we can change policies and procedures at any time. Now, we do ask that the employees read the handbook carefully, because now it's going to go into what their responsibility is. This is responsibility level 1. All employees are expected to be prepared and focused for work. So I walk them through the first 8 steps to being responsible for their role. The what they'll need to do in order to make sure that they have everything in place, from the training modules to the fingerprints to creating a profile to completing their safety training, how to bring the forms, how many days they have to bring the teacher training form, what their training will look like, how they will attend at least one Saturday training each month for the first 90 days. They're expected to work their schedule and to read the employee handbook. I'll take them through the process of what orientation and training is all about with us. At Akiba Academy, they understand that they are on a 90-day teacher training process. We give them the checklist. We tell them to bring it during your first 30 days. They are to turn it into me, because when they get ready for their 90 days, they're going to want their raise. And so in order for them to get their raise, this training checklist has to be completed with the proper signatures. We also let them know what we provide to have them prepared for that end of the 90 days. Regardless of their previous experience or education, they are expected to continue their studies and training in early childhood. This continued study and training may take place on the employee's own time or outside of regular working hours as recommended by management. We talk to them about how their raises and job security is based on their performance, and we talk to them about what performance we observe from a staff member, whether it's in the classroom or just through day-to-day interactions. I walk them through A through J, what I'm observing and what I'm looking for to make sure that they are performing according to company standard. The next one is coaching and progressive counseling. Of course, if I'm going to coach the world, I'm going to coach my staff. So this is where we document, observe, and discuss areas of improvement for professional action. And a lot of times when people don't understand that, you have a role as a business owner to observe and provide progressive counseling, make sure that you express this clearly during your your staff orientation, so that they'll understand that it's not personal. This is business. I'm observing you to make sure that I can award you for your professional actions. If I can't, I want to make sure I get you to the place where you need to be. And then we also let them know that we keep them informed with policies and handouts during our meetings, so that they can maintain, to the extent feasible, a library of self-instructional programs and materials for their use. We talk to them about their initial employment period. We talk to them about the 90-day probationary period. We talk to them about what our state requires for licensing requirements. The reason why we give them everything that our state requires is because we want for them to be successful in knowing and understanding rules, that this is not just a business where we're trying to hide anything or trying to just keep them in the box. We need for them to know all of the rules that are required through our licensing division. So you can change this to meet your licensing division requirements. But we also let them know what they must possess in going through their CDA program. And we talk to them about the different classes that's included that they'll need to take for that CDA program. We tell the staff of what we expect for CPR and first aid. At least 50% of the caregivers on staff must have current evidence. So that's when we schedule for them within their 90 days to get their CPR and first aid. Even though we may have logistics in our program where everybody may not be on staff at the same time with the CPR and first aid, we require everyone to have it. Even if the logistics of the program is only that 50% needed, we require everyone have it within the first 90 days. Background checks. Now, you guys, this is so important. I have literally failed in this area and it's cost me business because not having the background checks on file. So whatever your state rules are concerning the background checks, make sure they have their full background check as required by the state. Don't try to go under it. Don't try to go through it, because you'll mess up something in the end. Trust me, as a coach, I've been there and I've done that. Pre-employment. Now, if there's some pre-employment rules that you have in place where you drug screen, if you're sending someone out to work, in a very high impact program where drug free is what your state requires. Then you let them know that, drug and alcohol screens may be required, especially if you get parent complaints, you get issues of a staff member that has been under the influence, and you really don't know, but you assume. You can also use this as a way for them to understand that that's a part of their pre-employment and post-employment, and that's according to your discretion. When to come to work. We have to be very blunt with team members to let them know that we try to give them a schedule that work close with program logistics and with their desires for what they can work, but that we work for working parents. Therefore, we rarely close due to weather and environmental conditions. And we try to remind them of our opening hours so that they are flexible, and let them know that, unless otherwise notified by management, those are the hours that we're open. We talk to them about when they're hired, how they're given work schedules, but we also talk to them about the critical aspects of staffing during our program logistics. And so we talk to them about their work schedules as well. Substitute employees. We go through the process of what it takes for us to have a substitute employee. We also let them know if they're unable to report to work and they know that they will be late or know that they must leave early, to notify supervisors within 24 hours in advance. And then in case of an emergency, it's at least an hour in advance. We go through professional appearance, and you want to be very, very clear. So we go through our hair specific guidelines. We go through our uniform policy. We go through our employee conduct when it comes to cell phones, computers. We go through our employee disciplinary process. Now, this is so important because if you do not have a disciplinary process in place, it'll be hard for you to make judgment decisions, especially if you caught up in the fact that you need good help, you need somebody to open up, you need somebody to close, you need somebody to work in the kitchen. Like, if you get caught up in all those variables, it'll be hard for you to follow your process. But I want to encourage you to stick to your process so that you can follow verbal warning first. Okay, when you speak to a person, you discuss things verbally, you still document the discussion. Then next, you give them a written warning. You will let them know that this is the written warning and that employee signs the document. Second warning where they can have suspension. It can be handled the same way as step 2, or its suspension could be included. Normally, when a person gets to this second warning, that's when you give them a 2 weeks notice. Let them know, hey, if your work performance don't improve in these last 2 weeks, that they're acknowledging that they're on their way out the door. And then you give them the fourth one, which is termination. A lot of times you want to be very clear about your reasons for termination or your disciplinary action, so you'll write that down. You'll write down the reasons for examples that will result in immediate termination from your place of business. You can look through this list. It may not be the same, but these are things that I have seen, I have witnessed, I have had happen in my business, so I had to make that clear. Cell phones. We observe the right to ask those not to bring their cell phones on the job, but if they do and they are not off the clock and they're using it on our time, then we can deduct 30 minutes from their time for being on their cell phones. Lunch breaks. And now when you do that, make sure that you know that they acknowledging that they are on their phone and that they're wrong for being on their phone. Lunch breaks. Pay procedures. Make sure that you're clear about when you pay, how often you pay, what time checks to be ready, how checks are delivered, how time is calculated, how overtime is paid, if it's not paid, in your payroll procedures. Timesheets are printed out every Monday. They'll be placed in the timesheet binders. You're responsible to complete your timesheet thoroughly. Second, if you've entered into the system, you will use the binder and clock as well. So we try to make both of them where they have to do both. Another thing is you want to put you a time clock policy, which you can see that sometimes people are working overtime they're not supposed to. They don't clock out on both systems. They walk out the door without doing it. So stick to your policy and let them know that you are serious about their clock on and clock off time. You talk about the benefits that you offer: 1 week paid vacation after 1 full year of satisfactory employment. You can go through and let them know when your vacation procedures are. You can also let them know how vacations are calculated. When you have mandatory meetings or doctor's appointments, those things count towards their vacation time. Drug-free workplace, prohibited substance, smoking limitations, reserve the right to ask a person who smoked not to work in the infant and toddler classrooms. All right. Outside employment, this is where you want to be clear, where they understand that they cannot work as a babysitter for your parents. You let them know what's a conflict of interest for working for people who may be a conflict of interest. You let them know about the confidential information that they're being exposed to is for your center only, not to be taken outside of the business. Work environment, let them know that you don't discriminate. Workplace safety, that you do not condone acts or threats of violence against employees. Interactions with children, you talk to them about how you want the interactions done with your children, because that's important for them to go through this particular training with you. So you may have an interaction training, you may have an educare training, because we walk them through feeding infants, feeding schedules, sippy cups, signs of readiness, how the infant and toddler program operates, how the preschool and toddler 2 program operates. So understand what you mean when you're saying how to do the educational part of the care of children. Positive discipline with the children, inappropriate discipline with the children, what caregivers shall not do, documentation of communicating with parents. How do you document that? How the kids' meals are supposed to look when they hit the plates. So we based that off of the food program. How is that operated? How about evaluating, labeling, storing, and monitoring sack lunches from home? We go through how the food is prepared, how the food is dispensed. We ask for them to limit their food. Coffee and soft drinks are not allowed while working directly with children, because sometimes they'll pull your drink and you didn't even know they pulled it. Dinner procedures. How do we do dinner in our program? How we administer medication. So we take them through the health and safety training on how meds are dispensed, what the process is. We take them through hygiene and contagious diseases of symptoms. We take them through required reporting. We take them through the infant diapering, feeding, and potty training procedures. We take them through our potty training process, which is here. All of our potty training process, so that they'll understand what our policy requires. We take them through emergency plans on what to do in the event of an emergency. We take them through from the time the alarm goes off to exit the building. We take them through where the exits are, where to stand. We take them through what happens when there's a severe warning, physical plant, alternative shelter, loss of a child on a field trip. And so this, when I have in my planner about field trip training, this is the stuff that we go through. We go through the transportation guidelines, how we must follow the transportation procedures. When we arrive, how we pull up the van, how the van should be parked, how we get kids out, van rules, general information. Okay, so now let's go into the general information section. We tell them the first day of work, you need the following: your complete background check, CPR. So we're breaking it down. The training, how many hours they will be training. We let them know what they will be trained at per hour. And so you can put in the minimum wage there. They will be required to attend staff meetings. They will be required to complete the following classes in the first 90 days. So I give them all of that. Procedures for being absent. Let me take out my personal phone number, you guys. but you can put in your personal phone numbers there so that they can know who to contact. Please notify, and then you can put in who your notification person will be if a staff member is out. Requesting personal time off, how the process is taken. And then another thing is, I know that my procedure is, and I'm glad I'm going through this, is that personal time off requests are made 2 weeks in advance. In advance to be approved. Okay. Then you go through your biannual evaluation. Then you go through your basic teacher rules. Now, this is where I talked about how they have to understand their role in your organization. So you go through the rules with them. You go through their job duties with them, how to conduct yourself during a tour, kitchen responsibilities, how to do things in the pantry. If they were ever at the front desk, what are some things we have to do at the front desk? Okay, then you go through your job descriptions, your lead teacher role. Then you go through your what the lead teacher is responsible for. I mean, you being very, very detailed. You guys can read it. Then you go through the telephone etiquette, the training expectations, the new student, how to bring in a new student into the program, what the newsletter expectations are, how they are to operate with the children at the centers, what happens when the children sit to the tables, what happens when they get ready to turn in their lesson plans, how to lay the children down head, toe, how to organize your classrooms, whatever deadlines you have for them to be able to turn items in. The assistant teacher role. And you giving them time based on schedule, that what happens around about what time in your program. Floaters. You giving them the job description. Job wage scale. So this is an older one, but you can do your own based on what worked for you in your child care program. So those are those pages. And so as you can tell, everything is disclosed here, even what they do all the way down to their job descriptions. It's included, so they'll know how to operate in those different areas of your child care program.